Albania doesn't feel like the Europe most people imagine. It feels wilder, more hidden, more untouched. Turquoise beaches beneath giant mountains, ancient stone towns frozen in time, roads winding through dramatic valleys, and landscapes so beautiful. Many travelers can't believe how little they knew about it. There's a strange feeling that comes with arriving somewhere like this, a feeling that you've somehow slipped through a gap in the map. That while everyone else was going somewhere more obvious, this place was sitting here the whole time, waiting. Some places become famous. Albania still feels discovered. For years, Albania remained one of Europe's great mysteries, closed off for decades, misunderstood for longer, passed over by travelers who assumed there wasn't much to find. But beyond the headlines and assumptions lies one of the continent's most surprising landscapes. Hidden beaches, mountain villages, ancient castles, crystal rivers, and coastlines that rival places far more famous. Places that would have postcards and crowds and magazine covers if they existed somewhere else. But here, they exist quietly, still largely unknown, still largely themselves. If you love discovering extraordinary places, subscribe. There's much more ahead. The Albanian Riviera. Begin where Albania feels almost unreal. The Riviera. Turquoise water glowing beneath steep mountains. Hidden beaches reachable only by winding coastal roads. Tiny villages overlooking the Ionian Sea. And the further south you go along that coastline, the more dramatic it becomes. The mountains don't retreat from the sea here. They push right up against it. They drop straight down into the water, which means every turn in the road opens something new. A bay you didn't expect, a stretch of water with a color that doesn't look quite real, a village clinging to a hillside above the waves. Places like Semil and Thermi feel impossibly beautiful. But what makes them different from other beautiful coastlines in Europe is what surrounds them. The rawness of it, the scale of it, the fact that it hasn't been smoothed over yet, especially at sunset, when the sea turns deep blue beneath golden cliffs. And suddenly, Albania stops feeling hidden. It feels unforgettable. But Albania changes completely once you leave the coast behind, the Accursed Mountains. Then come the mountains. And this is where Albania becomes truly wild. The Accursed Mountains rise above deep valleys and isolated villages. The name alone tells you something. This is not soft countryside. This is not easy terrain. These are peaks that defined the north of the country for centuries, shaped the people who lived beneath them, created a landscape that still feels largely untouched. Roads cut through dramatic passes. Clouds move slowly across giant peaks. And villages like Theth feel almost untouched by time. Stone homes beside icy rivers. Hikers come here from across Europe now, but the trails still feel genuinely remote. The landscape still absorbs you rather than accommodating you. It doesn't feel like modern Europe. It feels ancient, like a version of the continent that hasn't been edited yet. But Albania also hides cities unlike anywhere else in the Balkans, Berat and Gjirokastër. Then suddenly, Albania becomes history. Berat, the city of 1,000 windows. White Ottoman houses stacked across hillsides. Ancient streets glowing beneath mountain sunsets. A city that has been lived in continuously for thousands of years, where layers of different civilizations sit on top of each other. Byzantine, Ottoman, Albanian, all folded together. And walking upward through the old quarter, you start to feel how long this place has been here. How many generations moved through these same streets. How much the city has absorbed and kept. And further south, Gjirokastër. Stone rooftops, castle walls, hidden alleyways, entire towns shaped by centuries of history. Another UNESCO city, another place that somehow didn't make it onto the usual European itinerary. Walking through them feels cinematic, almost dreamlike. The kind of place where your mind keeps reminding you that this is real, that this actually exists, that people actually built this and lived here and still do. And many travelers leave wondering why places like this remain so overlooked. The answer is probably simple. Albania was just closed too long, and the world moved on without it. But that's changing now, slowly and still quietly. Quick question. Would you rather explore Albania's hidden beaches or its mountain villages? Tell me in the comments, but some of Albania's greatest wonders are completely unexpected. Blue Eye Spring and hidden nature. Then there's the Blue Eye, a natural spring so clear and intensely blue, it barely looks real. Water rises from deep underground beneath thick forest, and no one truly knows how deep it goes. Scientists have tried to measure it. Divers have tried to reach the bottom. Neither has fully succeeded. It just keeps going. Surrounded by forest that muffles the world outside, water that stays cold even in summer, a color that shifts between shades of blue and green depending on the light. One of those natural places that makes you feel small in the best way. Across Albania, places like this appear suddenly. Hidden canyons, wild rivers, waterfalls beneath mountains. The Osumi Canyon cutting through rock that feels almost geological in its drama. Rivers like the Valbona running cold and clean through valleys most travelers never reach. Nature still feels untamed here. Genuinely untamed. Not managed, not packaged, not built around. And that's part of the magic. Because it's getting harder to find places like this in Europe. Places where the landscape still feels like it belongs to itself. Albania still has them. But what surprises many travelers most is the warmth of Albanian culture itself, food and hospitality. In Albania, hospitality is deeply personal. There's a concept here, besa, a kind of code of honor rooted in Albanian culture, a commitment to keeping your word, to protecting a guest, to treating a stranger with the same care you'd give family. It's old, older than the country's modern borders, and you feel it in how people treat visitors here. Meals stretch for hours beside mountains or sea. Fresh bread, grilled seafood, mountain cheeses, slow-cooked dishes passed through generations. Food that doesn't try to impress you with complexity. It impresses you with honesty instead, with ingredients that taste like what they actually are. The kind of meal that makes you realize how much gets lost when food becomes performance. And often, travelers remember the people just as much as the landscapes. A conversation that started as directions and turned into an hour of coffee. An invitation to eat that came from nowhere and meant everything. A generosity that felt instinctive rather than practiced. Because Albania still feels genuine, unpolished in the best possible way. And that authenticity gives the country soul. The kind that's hard to manufacture. The kind that comes from a place that hasn't been reshaped entirely around tourism yet. But Albania still hides roads and landscapes that barely seem possible. The roads through Albania. Driving through Albania feels unpredictable in the best way. One moment you're beside the sea. The next, high above valleys surrounded by mountains. Roads twist through dramatic scenery where villages suddenly appear beneath giant cliffs. The SH8 along the coast. The mountain roads north toward Shkodër. The routes through the interior that connect places most maps barely label. Every road seems to move between different versions of the same country. Coast to canyon. Valley to summit. Modern city to village with no visible connection to the outside world. And because much of Albania still feels undiscovered, the journey often feels personal. Like you found something before the rest of the world did. Like you're moving through a country in the years before it changes. That feeling is rare now. Most of Europe has been documented, charted, reviewed, and rated. Albania still has stretches that feel genuinely open. So what makes Albania unforgettable? Maybe it's the contrasts. Turquoise coastlines, wild mountain valleys, ancient stone towns, hidden springs, quiet villages, and landscapes untouched by mass tourism. Or maybe it's something harder to name. That feeling of arriving somewhere and realizing it doesn't quite match anything you already knew. That the world still has corners that haven't been flattened into familiarity. Albania doesn't feel overbuilt. It feels real, mysterious, unexpected. A country that absorbed centuries of history, decades of isolation, and still came out the other side with its character intact. With its mountains still standing, its coastline still raw, its people still open. And maybe that's why so many travelers leave completely surprised by it. Not just by what it looks like, but by how it makes them feel. Because Albania doesn't just show you beauty. It makes you feel like you discovered it yourself. And that specific feeling of arriving somewhere real before the world catches up, is harder to find every year. Albania still offers it, for now. If you enjoyed exploring Albania, subscribe for more journeys like this. And tell me, what part of Albania would you want to experience first?